Hello everybody, this is Gen Jeff here with the next video in the series of Let's Talk About the Decks. We're doing England. Starting with logistics, going up to planes. Now, well, the only supply truck, so there's not really much commentary on it. If you're doing the British-only deck, this is the only supply truck that you have. As it drives around on this little screen thing here too. Look at it go. Command vehicles, we have the Rover, which is basically their version of the Jeep. Works very nicely, does a very good job. Generally the one I use. Followed by the Sultan. Expensive for what it is. Decent armor, I suppose, for one, but it is really expensive for only having a GPMG, and that's about it. There are other ones that are armed and not quite as expensive, so this is a really overpriced command unit. Very handy one. No, I've actually only used this on a handful of occasions myself, because I'd rather spend the points on a unit that is actually meant for combat. But it's got a 120mm cannon with an L37. Accuracy 9, AP power 15, so it is a very powerful, with really heavy armor, command vehicle. Just for those regions where you absolutely must capture it, and there's a lot of enemy forces there. This can do the job. I'm going to classify this as like an assault level command unit, but I still wouldn't normally use a command unit for combat. Chinook, by the way, aircraft don't move around. Decent supply helicopter, much like the American Chinook, useful for supplying special forces in the rear. And a FOB is a FOB. They're the exact same thing for every nation. The infantry. Fusiliers. Good all-around infantry. Much like the American riflemen, they're better machine guns. Very much better machine guns, but they do the job, and I don't have any real reason to complain about them. Once again, I usually bring them in the Pinzagar, which is only 1 point because it's cheap. Goes fast, 110km/h road speed. Sometimes I might use this because it's faster. Actually, there's a good chance I'll start using this more because it is faster and gets them there quicker. God, this thing looks like it's from World War I. The FV 432 does the job. Look at the stats. 110 kilometers. Why? It's the same cost with largely the same machine gun. Actually, that's got a Vickers. Reality is, the Vickers is probably a better machine gun than that one. Its accuracy is lower. And then you got the Warrior, which is basically like the Bradley, but worse, because it doesn't have an anti-tank missile. But this is a good one to do if you want them to be heavily armored, just expensive. So this would end up costing 40 points. They also come in helicopters, but they don't really make good special forces. Their optics are not good enough for that. But still, it is nice to rush these into villages in the front line, take them up real quick, and then make the enemy fight for them. Run, little dudes. Even though, seeing how big the model is, I don't know how they fit 10 men in that. That's got to be a cramped fit. Javelin. Accuracy 10, HE power 5. A very, very good man-pad. Does a good job. Has many of the same transport things as the Fusilier minus the Warrior. Can be handy. Also, good in these Lynxes for just bringing them up to the front line real quick. We got the blowpipes, which really blow. Accuracy is severely... They all use the same gun, so I'm not even commenting on the SLR. The accuracy is much lower, HE power is much lower, and the ranges are also a good deal lower. So, go for javelins, don't use the blowpipes unless you must. And you got a Category C deck, then you kind of have to. Milans! Like any other Milans, Milans are one of the best infantry anti-tank guided missiles in the game. Still using the SLR, this one has an accuracy of 7, AP power of 16. Does the job. Cannot be brought in on the Warrior, so generally just use the Panzergar or the Sasaran, because the Sasaran has 150 kilometer road speed. Kilometers an hour. Paratroopers. Counterproductively, you'd think this would be Special Forces, but it's not. It's only got medium optics. So I don't use these as Special Forces, but they can be handy. Also good for just flying in on lynxes, taking forward towns, and making your enemy fight for them. Carl Gustaf is a very good anti-tank weapon for that purpose. Accuracy 12, AP power of 13. Will do the job very nicely. Sterling, it's a submachine gun, lackluster accuracy. It is one of the only ones that have a different gun from everybody else. The suppression is not very high. But it is faster than the other infantry on foot. Not the fastest. Fusiliers match it. But it does a job. These... I don't even think these guys are Special Forces, actually. Same thing, Carl Gustaf, and they still use the Bren gun. They're using a Bren gun in this. Bren gun is very good. Well, no, it's the same stats as the other one. Slightly better accuracy. Kind of funny, because I heard a story from World War II. Oh, they're also possibly the most accurate. Yeah, they're one of the most accurate British... They are the most accurate British infantry. Who the heck am I kidding? I heard a story from World War II where they gave all the Gurkhas Bren guns for personal rifles. So all the Gurkhas are running through the jungles fighting the Japanese, and every single one of them had a Bren gun for a personal rifle. That's scary. Accuracy 10 for the rifle. Really good anti-tank rifle. Another good unit to fly in up front. I wouldn't go command unit hunting with these things, though. Support. 81mm mortar. Good response time. Carries a good amount of ammunition, much like the American one. Quick response, short-range artillery. The Abbott. Decent accuracy, doesn't pack a punch. Well, that hard of a punch, and the range isn't great. But it does carry a good amount of ammunition, can shoot directly, with piss-poor accuracy and no power behind it. Basically, it's like a light tank that can shoot indirectly a longer distance. Does the job, and I've found it handy on occasion. These things are like the American version. Great for sniping command units spotted by recon. And that is their job. That's what they should be used for. Falcon. Decent anti-aircraft point defense. Does the job, accuracy. And not radar. Really good accuracy that does not use a radar. So it is not going to be taken up by the anti-radar missiles, and it will still do a good job up close. And it has good range, too, with an adequate road speed. Tracked Rapier. Don't take these off-road, though. Don't take any anti-aircraft off-road. They don't really do all that well. Tracked Rapier. Not the best one in the game. Good range for helicopters. Not so good range against airplanes. Still good accuracy. HE power is adequate. Suppression is good. And rate of fire is pretty good, too. It is, once again, also not radar. It is a fire-and-forget weapon. And it can't be fired on the move. But fire-forget, no radar, so once again, not going to be taken out by anti-radar missiles. British tanks. The Centurion AVRE. They have the, well, more of the correct gun modeled. In real life, this thing can actually be used as sort of a short-range mortar artillery kind of setup, but that is not done in this game. Used to be, which made this thing immensely powerful against infantry, which is its role. Now it's not. It can't do indirect fire into woods and stuff, which is a real pity. Because it was really good at that in it can be used for that in real life, but whatever, fine. Great against infantry, not so great against tanks. Chieftain! All the British tanks, the smallest one, all of the main British battle tanks have 120mm cannons. The only nation I know of that does that. Good all around. The lowest one, 40 points. Not very fast off-road. Good armor for a basic tank. Does the job. Accuracy 5. AP power 13. High explosive power 3. Decent rate of fire. The only difference between the Chieftain Mark II and the Chieftain Mark V is one additional back armor and an increased range for the gun. Other than that, stats are all identical. Chieftain Mark V to Chieftain Mark X. You go from a accuracy 5 to an accuracy 9, AP power 13 to an AP power 15. Armor in the front goes to 14, side goes to 8. Worth the 15 points for the upgrade. And actually gets a stabilizer too. Now the Challenger. This is actually a completely different family of tanks from the Chieftain. Same gun. Goes 2,275 meters. Accuracy is now 10 and AP power is now 17. The funny thing is, this tank can't even penetrate its own front armor. Because the front armor is 19, side armor has become 10, and rear armor is 6. This is one of the most heavily armored tanks in the game. Tough little tank, great for defensive operations, not very fast off-road, and eats fuel again, much like the Abrams, without the speed off-road. Or the stabilizer, too. Scorpion light tank. This used to be worth 15 points. It should probably still be worth 15 points, because it is a joke. Accuracy 3, AP power of 10. T-34s are more than, well, could easily match this thing in one-on-one combat. It is not very good. But it's faster off-road, but there's no stabilizer, so you're going to want to keep stopping it when it wants to fire. Accuracy 3, AP power 10, really a lackluster tank. Great cannon fodder to give extra targets to make it harder to kill these. Recon! The British have lots of recon. You got the Scorpion and Scimitar. Same role, except, well, same scout role, except these do two different things. One, this can be used against light armored vehicles with a range of 2,100 meters for the 76mm cannon. And this one has a 30mm autocannon, also good against light armored vehicles, better accuracy, better suppression, faster rate of fire. Not very fast, still only 45 rounds a minute. Makes me kind of wonder if this is even an autocannon. Could be just a cannon 30mm that they load every shot. Both of them have the same speed. This one has a stabilizer. This can be useful against helicopters, although that one obviously can't. So, Scout, that can do two different combat roles, but we have to choose one or the other. Ferrets. God, these things are like World War II. It looks Italian! Because I look at this thing and I remembered of an Italian scout car from World War II. Don't remember what the name of the thing is, though. Fast Scout, 150 kilometers on road, 95 off-road. Lacking in operational range for a recon unit. Severe lacking of operational range for a recon unit. That's for sure. Not heavily armed. It's kind of a scout that gives itself away. This is something you could use with a push, not so much with these. Better scouting anyway. This one has the 30mm cannon, and boy does that look awkward for that thing on there.
Need some extra eyes, sir?
It's like the same. I'm amazed they managed to fit that turret on there. But yeah, same thing. Slightly faster, and as a result, slightly longer range. And it also carries a little bit more fuel. Green jackets! The stuff I would use as special forces. They carry an SLR, as usual, with an accuracy of 9. The rest of the stats are the same as the other infantry. A law, M72. I've actually trained on those things. I hate those. But accuracy 6, AP power 13, does the job. Very good, very small, very good, very stealthy, very fast on foot. Usually I bring these in the lynxes. Gives me tactical mobility for these guys to use them as both scouts and special forces against command units. Rover Pinky, exceptional optics. The guns only serve to give away its position and should not be used in a combat sense. Fast, both on and off-road, great range, great fuel capacity. Feel free to drive these things around the map, make sure everything is safe. SAS. Special Forces right there. Very good, very small, very fast on foot. Come in Spartans, which is really too expensive, or in these things, best brought in on helicopters once again for mobility. So that way you can put them into the rear of the enemy side and start destroying command units. Gazelle, exceptional. Really, there's no point in getting the one with rockets. It only carries 12, that's not enough to do anything, and it's just too expensive. And then you'd be tempted to use these things in a combat way, which they're not meant for. They're gazelles, they're small, exceptional optics, fast speed, decent range, and poor stealth. There's no reason to be using these as combat units. Vehicles! Striker! Accuracy 8, AP power of 20 does not make it the best anti-tank missiles mounted on a vehicle in the game. Rate of fire of 12. These can be surprisingly effective when used properly. Good speed all around on a good platform with a good range. Spartan, infantry, you won't see it other than that, but it's one of the fastest tracked vehicles in the game. It was, I think, the fastest tracked vehicle in Wargame, European Escalation. I'm not quite sure why these two are even here. That's a warrior, that's an APC. You won't see them without infantry. Raiden. Cheap, craptastic unit. Saladin. Cheap, craptastic unit. Just when you want those extra targets on the map to confuse people with. Rover Wombat. Hilarious. I love recoilless rifles that can be fun just because volleys of them miss horribly, but they're cheap. Fast unit, good range, cheap flank defense or something. Not really gonna do all that much. Piss poor accuracy, piss poor armor piercing power. Stick them in woods, let them ambush tanks. Rover Milan. Once again, Milan anti-tank missile, very good. The British do not seem to have the Milan F2, unfortunately. But these still function perfectly fine. Not as good, but they do the job. Helicopters. You won't see outside infantry, so we've already noted these in the infantry. Useful for transporting the infantry around. Lynx TOW and TOW 2. The only British attack helicopters. Basic TOW is decent. The TOW 2, with an accuracy of 14, AP power of 25, is devastating against tanks. And good range for both of them. Planes. The British Air Force is in severe lack of planes compared to other armies, but not that they're all bad. Harrier GR1 is useful in carrying 2 500-pound bombs. GR3 carries 2 in addition to an AIM-9L, and then the next one carries an AIM-9M. Gives it an addition with 2 more bombs, but they lose some of the cannon ammunition. But really, you shouldn't be flying around using cannons anyway. So this can be a decent multi-purpose aircraft. Not the best. It's not really meant to be a dogfighter, but it is handy and does the job. Jaguars, really cluster bombers. That's about all they do. They do a good job at it too. Sea Harrier, same as the Harrier, only worse. Very much worse. Yeah, they're worse. like this thing without the bombs. That is just a disappointment. Carries more missiles. Tornado. This is a surprisingly effective aircraft, as I've seen many Soviet air forces shot down by a wave of tornadoes coming in. This is 15 points more. Go for the extra. Just go for the extra points. It's a better missile. You still have the Sky Flash, which is a very effective missile. And you get better ACM. But if you want sheer numbers, just go with this. It'll do the job. Tornado GRI 1DS. Basically this, but instead of the Sky Flash, it's got cluster bombs. Depends on what you want to do with them. And that is the end of the British deck. That was fun. Next time it will be French. Have fun, everybody.